Welcome back to Yoshi Entertainment, everybody. So, Cat Williams woke up, got dressed, went to Club Shay down there with Shannon Sharpe, and he chose all of the smoke. And I was here for it. I was here for every single second of it. At this point, what else does somebody need to say about these people in the industry for people to understand, for people to wrap their heads around how it really works, what goes on down there, what these people are really made of? They're full of it, basically, in case you didn't know. Like, what else does somebody have to say? He would know because he was involved with this stuff. He's seen behind the scenes. He's tried to expose people before, and they threw him under the bus because of it. They tried to label him crazy when he tried to tell everybody about some of these people who we're just now finding out about now, which is why a lot of people are not shocked by what he said. A lot of people are, but a lot of people aren't. We shouldn't be at this point. And at this point, in my mind, all these people who want to parade around like they're not doing anything wrong that he called out, I'm at the point now where I'm just like, if the shoe fits, put it on. Because you parading around and acting like it's not the truth, we're getting sick and tired of it. It's annoying. Get out of our faces or tell the truth. There were so many truth nuggets that this guy dropped. Love him or hate him, you gotta admit he tells the truth. Now, some people don't want to admit that what he said was the truth, and they might not have liked some of the stuff that he said. I don't agree with everything that he said, but you gotta admit he's speaking the truth. They just want to label him as crazy because they don't want to accept it. I don't even know where to start, to be completely honest. Now, I do agree with what he said at the beginning. Let's start with that first. It's always good to start at the beginning, right? Whenever he came on to Shannon Sharpe's show, the Shay Club, and he told him, you sit up here and you let these men basically lie on me and you didn't even say anything. And Shannon Sharpe makes me so sick. I'm tired of seeing him already. I'm gonna be real honest with y'all, because he low-key, I feel like, tried to gaslight that man and kind of tried to tiptoe around what he was saying, because let's just be honest, he still wants to maintain decent relationships with these people that Cat Williams was low-key trying to call out and talk about. That's what it really was about. But he said, you came up here and sat up here and let all these people say this stuff, and it was a load of bullcrap, and you didn't say nothing. Why you didn't say nothing? And he was, it was just a load of hogwash to me. He could have just kept his mouth shut and just taken his L and said, you know what, Cat, you are 100% right. I was raggedy for that. I should have said something. And he even compared it to something that was even easy enough for him to understand. If there was some dude who was using steroids and he came up here and tried to talk about all the greats and athletes in the athletic field, you wouldn't let him get away with that, would you? So why did you do that when it came to comedy and me? So you had to admit that he was on to something there. Everybody was trying to call this man crazy and jealous. This man does not want anything from anybody. He said it himself. Jealous of what? Talent lacking individuals? I don't think so. He called out Ricky Smiley for making a big fuss about that role, Money Mike, talking about the role was supposed to be him, when, as he said, Cat Williams was the one who wrote the character. He was the one who did the research and the work to make the character what he is today. Work that Ricky Smiley would have never done. And I believe everything that he said concerning that and Ricky Smiley, when he basically said that, first of all, Ricky Smiley would not have been able to touch that role with a 10-foot pole because he does not have the talent for it, because he's too busy over here parading around in dresses like somebody else that we know, because that's really what he's good at. Let's just be honest. Let's call it like what it is. Because I also get annoyed at specifically black men who like to put on dresses and mock black women. There was a post that went viral. I did a video about it, with Tachina Arnold, who said, the post said, okay, well, black women, how can you help men not be emasculated? How can you help your fellow black men not to be emasculated? What can you do to help with this? And she even went so far as to be very humble, very respectful, and vulnerable. She was like, I think we could do more to help our black men. But at this point, if y'all don't realize majority of it is them choosing to put on dresses and wigs and emasculating themselves, I don't know what else anybody else has to say. How many of them that we know already chose to put on a dress and a wig to make money? You can talk about how they didn't want to do it all you want to, but they chose to do it because the industry approached them with the idea, put a price on it, and they took it. At the end of the day, people have to realize you have morals that you have to stand for, and if you choose not to, you can't complain about what comes out of it. You made that decision. And if you stand on the morals, then stand on the morals. You don't get to boo-hoo and, I did this. Like, it's not for anybody except for you. Like, you standing on your morals and not letting yourself be embarrassed and emasculated, it is for you. I'm gonna be honest, I don't have any respect for the comedians who did that, because essentially they chose to embarrass their own community and to make fun of black women, because that is what that image of a black man in a wig and a dress is doing. They chose to make those decisions and do those things for money and more influence in the industry. So quite frankly, like I said, I don't have respect for any of those people. All those people he listed, Ricky Smiley, Tyler Perry, Martin, I don't have respect for any of them. And I never will, quite frankly. And the sad part is, they were talking about this on Twitter as well. And they were pointing out that them putting on those dresses and those wigs did more detriment to the image of black women than it ever would have done for their careers. Because it made them famous. The industry rewarded them with money and more fame, like I said. But as for black women, we just got looked at as these ghetto, ratchet, loud individuals. And people love to stereotype us that way. And yes, there are some black women who do act that way, but by far, that is not how most black women act. But to have people stereotype us and generalize us, especially people in our own race, do that to us on a regular basis, it's disgusting, it's heinous, and it's wrong. It been should have stopped, but it still goes on to this very day. Once again, I just want to drive this point home and help somebody understand, because I don't think people understand how detrimental them doing that to everybody was. Once again, they chose to put on a wig and a dress to emasculate themselves for money and fame. We didn't force them to do that. No woman can force a man to do something he doesn't already want to do. But we still caught backlash. We're still being stereotyped and disrespected off of a trope that somebody else chose to promote. And also, them doing that, another way it screwed black women over is it took roles and jobs away from actual funny black women, from actually talented black women who they could have cast in those roles, not made it as stereotypical, like I said, as they did. But it took roles away from black women and it just replaced it with these, like I said, disgusting stereotypical tropes. Somebody in the Twitter tweets reminded us that it was DC Curry who pointed that out. He also talked about how the role of Money Mike, basically the original, he said what they didn't tell y'all and what Ricky Smiley wasn't going to tell y'all while he was throwing rocks at Cat Williams and hiding his hands, was that the original plot was to have that man R-worded in the bathroom. Cat Williams said he refused to take that role unless they changed that, because under no circumstances, whether it was a man or a woman, was the R word funny. And he wasn't going to make it funny. He wasn't going to make it comical. So he said, if y'all change this, I'll blow it out of the water. I'll make it to where nobody else could outdo it like how I did it. And that's what they did, because I'm pretty sure at that point, they knew who really was the one with the talent. It was him, which is why they gave him the role and not Ricky Smiley. And Ricky Smiley, as you can tell, is another one that I have no respect for. Now, Ice Cube got on the internet and tried to claim that that tidbit about the role of Money Mike wasn't true. So y'all can do with that information what you will. All of this is allegations, but I done already showed y'all and told y'all how I feel about it and what I really believe is true. And then he moved on to the kings of comedy, and I put kings in quotation marks because since Bernie Mac was no longer a part of that, they haven't been the kings of anything. If you ask me, whenever I saw the four of them together, you know what I saw? I saw three vipers who were looking at the one talented person, that person was Bernie Mac, and they were jealous of him. They really tried to lie on that man and make it seem like he said, whatever happened was because, Bernie wanted to go into acting or whatever. And it was messed up to me because that man is no longer here to defend himself against anything that they could say or let come out of their mouth at this time. And just like Cat Williams was trying to clear the air with all the lies they told on him, he had to clear the air concerning Bernie Mac. He said it wasn't that he wanted to go into acting and that's what threw a wrench in everything. No, it was that the star was Bernie Mac. Wasn't nobody coming to see none of them. They were coming to see Bernie Mac. And if somebody not being a part of the group anymore made it fall apart once again, then we know where all the talent resided at. Quite frankly and quite honestly, I feel like they were holding him back. Y'all can say I'm being petty for that. And low-key, I feel like they tried to stab him in the back too. I'm just regretful that he didn't live long enough for us to see where he could have gone with his talent, which they didn't possess. Yes, I woke up and I chose smoke as well. Another interesting response to this little sit down was coming from Bernie Mac's biological daughter. She got onto the internet and she actually thanked Cat Williams for taking the stance that he took, saying what he said about Bernie Mac and defending him the way that he did. So once again, there's gotta be some truth somewhere to what the man said on that show. Cat Williams set up on that show and called Steve Harvey Mr. Potato Head, and let y'all know I laughed when he said that because that was hilarious. Now people have been calling him that for years. Like I said, if the shoe fits, you may as well wear it at this point. And another shoe he needs to put on and wear, and something he needs to admit to, is them jokes he stole, allegedly. All those jokes, people have been doing side-by-side comparisons of not just him, and not just from Cat Williams, but other comedians that these people then set up and stole jokes from, allegedly. And just like people can't get away with stealing lyrics or passing off certain songs as their own without getting sued or without some kind of legal action, I feel like comedians who steal jokes should get sued too, because that was that person's work. They put in a lot of effort, honed that for months, maybe even years to be able to say that and make those particular jokes. He even said that there was one particular joke that was at the end of one of his specials that was the closing joke that was supposed to be the funniest. And this dude took that one too. Allegedly. I'll say allegedly, but he already said it. Like I said, people have done the side-by-side comparisons and proved it. And I just think that's raggedy. Like, how raggedy and untalented do you have to be out here stealing people's jokes? Like I said, just like people can't get away with stealing songs and lyrics without being sued, I think people who steal jokes should be sued too. Then he moved on to Cedric the Entertainer. Now, I always thought that him calling himself an entertainer, while I understand he was trying to set himself apart from all the many other Cedrics in the world, was still a bit, prideful if you ask me, but whatever. But Cat Williams said, now, if you're an entertainer, the whole point of you calling yourself one is because you can sing, dance, and write jokes. But he couldn't do none of those. He couldn't sing, he couldn't dance, and he sure couldn't write. That's what Cat Williams said, and he even threw in the extra information that he looked like a walrus and couldn't even get his hands past his stomach. That's what Cat Williams said, but I'm here for it. I'm all the way here for it. But that didn't give him the right to be out here allegedly also stealing jokes that would make him just as raggedy as Steve Harvey. Oh, and he also reminded everybody that Cedric the Entertainer has not one, not two, not even three, but 4 comedy specials that didn't even make it on Tubi, let alone Netflix. That speaks for itself. Then he made a comment. Now, I told y'all I didn't agree with everything that he said. He made a comment about whenever certain individuals are in the industry and they make it to a certain level, there are certain things that come with it. The wife comment, y'all get it. I'm not going to repeat it. I'm never going to disagree with the fact that once you get certain places in the industry, it does come with certain things because, once again, that's a fact. I'm disagreeing with the appearance part of the comment that he said that some people probably took offensively. I feel like Shannon Sharpe took that personally, and we should all know why at this point. I'm not going to repeat it, but I feel like Shannon Sharpe was one of those men he was talking about. Okay, I'm going to move on from that because, I could be really petty and go into detail, but I'm not. Maybe I will on the podcast, but I won't on this YouTube channel. Speaking of wives, so he made another comment as well where he was talking about the Jonathan Major situation. He actually made a couple of comments concerning that, and I'm so glad that it came out of a man's mouth because I feel like a woman saying it would not have carried as much weight. Okay, we've been saying this for decades. You cannot be a certain type of person and mess with certain individuals in certain demographics, read between the lines, in the music industry when you are at the height of your career. I don't know why they won't take the Denzel Washington formula. That's something we can talk about in another video, maybe even on the podcast. But they need to take the Denzel Washington formula, which is marry somebody who you can trust. And there's plenty of women out there you can trust, so please miss me with that bull crap. That, there's no good women. Yes, there is. Find you a good woman, marry her, and then go do your job, act, do what you gotta do, and then go your black behind home. Don't be going to parties. Don't be going drinking and smoking with people. Don't do any of that stuff because that's how you get caught up. Now, he was talking about he likes all types of women. And I've said before, doesn't matter who you get with color-wise, just don't be out here dragging whole demographics of individuals because you're a phony. You're not genuine if you do that, and you're not really with that person because you actually want to be with them. So I was here for it when he said, I like all women the same. Although even he said he's not about to go get with a certain demographic, read between the lines, because he knows what's going to happen. He doesn't want to be running down the street in the middle of the night in the cold, being chased by a certain demographic in the streets of Manhattan, fighting for his life. And I'm also glad that he said what he said about Megan Good. I'm so glad because, once again, I don't believe it would have been believed coming out of the mouth of a woman. I'm just glad that he said it. This is why we like Cat Williams. He's not about bullcrap. He tells the truth. He admits the truth. He calls it like it is. He calls people out. He calls out the lies. And he says it in a hilarious way. Once again, he has let everybody know, and I said this before and I'm going to say it again, how many times do they have to keep telling people before they finally believe it? I'll never understand that. But he has reminded everybody again how the industry works. You have to sell yourself out. You have to sell your morals out. You have to do things that are compromising to get anywhere high in the industry. We can sit up and act like, oh, boo-hoo, woe is us. You're trying to say that there are no good people in the industry, or that nobody of color, or anybody for that matter, can make it anywhere without doing something bad. Get a grip. That's just how it is in the industry. He's been trying to tell y'all for years, and he got canceled for it. He got called crazy for it. Now that everybody's being exposed, they want to act like, they didn't see this coming. Oh, really? Are you sure you didn't? Because I can name a few people who tried to tell everybody and y'all called them crazy. So him and a lot of people are owed an apology. Let's just be honest. Can we be honest about that? He said it's not about race, because once again, people like to pull that, oh, you're saying nobody black can be high in the industry. It's not about race. It's about good and evil. Once again, it's time for people to come to grips with that and accept that and stop trying to look at the industry and life with rose-colored glasses. Now, he did talk about his upbringing, some things that happened in his childhood, and they were very messed up. Although they built him to be the person that he is today, it is still sad that he went through what he went through. Something that stuck out to me the most was that, talking about how he read a lot of books. And I feel like sometimes what people don't understand is they have children, and sometimes, unfortunately, the parents, their mental competence and intelligence level is not on the same as their child. So they don't know how to handle the child. They end up mishandling the child, not putting them in the right classes, not putting them in the right environment. Sometimes children are just born in families where they are bigger, so to speak, than that setting, than that environment, that family can handle them in. So they have to move out, they have to move away, they have to be in another environment. That's just the way that it is sometimes. Another thing he pointed out is the religious standpoint that his family had. That's something that a lot of people don't talk about. How basically, from what I can ascertain from what he said, at that time he was a young teenager, he was still a virgin. But I guess his parents thought that he was out here being debaucherous and just, being promiscuous and all this kind of stuff. And they even went so far as to lie on God and said, oh, he told us that you were out here sleeping around with people. And he even knew, even as a young man, I know God didn't tell you that because that's not the truth. You just lied to me and you just lied on God. But there was really no way he could get that point across as a child to his parent. That's another unfortunate thing that some children go through. Their parents put them through hell, put stuff on them that is not them, that is not the truth. And they can't go back and forth with their parents, because then it turns into, well, I'm the one who pays the bills. So what you gonna do? Let me say what I gotta say? Be verbally or even maybe physically abused, or you can get to stepping. And he said he got into an altercation, and then he was like, I can't stay here no more. And it was just sad that that happened, that it came to that point. But it also opens up that topic of conversation. People who lie on God, who say stuff, and they be like, oh, the Spirit told me. And the Spirit ain't then told them nothing. This is why I really go hard on the importance of being around people who are actually walking close with God, have a relationship with Him, are Holy Ghost filled and led by the Spirit, somebody who you can trust. So when they say, oh, God told me, it's not something that they're coming up with or that they believe that's not actually the truth. Because I know situations in real life where stuff like that has happened, and it has caused people to fall away from God and the church because people are raggedy out here. And it's messed up that happened to him, although I'm glad that he talked about it because it's something we need to talk about, especially in the black community. He also said some things about Kevin Hart. I'm going to go ahead and put it out there. I do not think that this man is funny. He may have had some funny roles, cracked some funny jokes. Some people have alleged that he ain't really write them jokes, allegedly. But I really don't believe that this man is funny. He was the one who helped bring Tiffany Haddish onto the scene. And let's talk about that for a moment. Because Cat Williams tried to tell everybody about Tiffany Haddish, and then everybody called him crazy, was trying to make it seem like he was just washed up, and he was jealous of her because she was new and fresh. And then when all them allegations came out about them kids, then they wanted to, oh my God, Tiffany, how could you? No, if you would have listened to the person who has been consistently telling y'all the truth about these people to begin with, you wouldn't be so surprised. He's also another one I don't mess with and I have no respect for because he's always doing shady stuff. Once again, he really ain't that funny and he's disrespectful. He also, and you guessed it, drum roll please, put on a wig and a dress. So he can go in the garbage with the rest of them if you ask me. Yeah, I said it. Now, one last person that he talked about that I thought was absolutely hilarious, and I believe everything he said about this dude. Y'all can say what y'all want to about it, but we're going to talk about it before I wrap up with some very interesting quotes that he said throughout this interview, this sit down with Shannon Sharpe. He had basically said in so many words, like I said, if I'm ascertaining this correctly, that it boiled down to it being between him and Ludacris for the role that Ludacris, of course, went on to play in the Fast and Furious movies. He was saying, oh, they're going to make X amount of films, X amount of millions of dollars. It's going to be for this person. They said you're going to have to cut your hair this way, get rid of the sideburns, X, Y, Z. And then he basically said, I didn't do it because there are things you have to do to get certain places in the industry. Like I said, we should know this by now. And he looped it back, as comedians do often, with the whole wife thing again. And he said, well, one of us got one and she looks a certain kind of way. Remember, I told you that's what comes with the territory. I was like, wow. And I know I'm not the only person who was wondering how many people went to Google to try and see who these men's wives were, to see who he was talking about. But anyway, some quotes that he said that I thought was very impactful and something we should remember. The one that he said where winners are not allowed to allow losers to rewrite history. And he was saying that because, once again, those men told a bunch of lies. And all he was really doing was setting the record straight. You can't be mad at somebody who was lied on and then they came back and they had smoke with the people who lied on them and set the record straight. All these people talking about, oh, you throwing shade, I can guarantee you they'd be cussing people out and sending death threats if they were in Cat Williams' position. So all of what he did, it was warranted. You don't lie on somebody like that, especially if that's how the situation really was, and just expect them to sit back and take it. Oh, no, that's not how this works. So everything that he did and said, oh, I believe it was very much warranted. He had the right to say it. I don't care what anybody says. And the other quote he asked as a question to Shannon Sharpe. He said, do you want to know the number one job of someone that sold their soul in Hollywood is? And Shannon Sharpe said, what is that, Cat? Tell me what it is. And he said, to act like it didn't happen. And you know how good these people are at that? You can tell how good they are by how deceived some of these people are and how deceived some of them choose to be. Because I believe there are some people, they're ignorant, and I don't mean that as a jab, but they're ignorant because they just don't know any better. And then you have the willfully ignorant who just don't want to accept it. I have no sympathy for them. They know the truth and they reject it. Have no sympathy and respect for people who are like that. I'm just putting it out there. I believe the reason why they put him through what they put him through, Cat Williams, is because he knows the truth. Like he said, he knows a lot what goes behind closed doors, and they don't want him to know. There's nothing that they could do about him knowing. They don't like the fact that he done told the truth and he done exposed all these people. And the fact that the man is so talented, and I'm not saying this to inflate his ego or in support of him, it's just the truth. The fact that he's so talented that he has gotten to places with just his talent and hard work and grit that a lot of them have had to sell themselves out to barely get to. I remember correctly, he made some kind of comment to the effect of taking the long route, and we've already talked about that on this channel. We know what that's about. And he already made it clear that there were certain things he wasn't going to do in order to get to certain places that other people have done. And I feel like some people are very triggered by that. They're mad because he kept saying that. I'm not going to sell myself out. I'm not going to sell certain body parts if you get my drift, because I'm not going to repeat it the way he said it. But it sounds like to me, or it seems like to me, that people get triggered when he says that. And they say stuff like, oh, you should be worried about yourself, or why are you worried about what somebody else does? No, he's putting the truth out there. He's reminding y'all about the truth. That's what the issue is. And anybody who's triggered, remember, hit dogs holler only. So give a side eye to somebody who's triggered by him saying that. It doesn't have anything to do with him being worried about what's going on with some other person. It has to do with him constantly putting the truth out there that people want to hide. And once again, it has nothing to do with race. He's not trying to tear another black man down. He's telling the truth. But anyways, y'all let me know what y'all think and how y'all feel about all of this down in the comments below. If you felt triggered, talk to God about it. Y'all all have a very blessed, beautiful, and safe day.